Hello, everybody, and welcome back. We are back with the weekly Astro forecast. I'm so used to
Mercury's,
the old one.
yeah, Mercury's still in retrograde. We've got some fumbling to get out of our system.
Yeah, some words to trip over. And this week we are looking at the 13th of August to the 20th of August, going from Wednesday to Wednesday, because that's Mercury Day to Mercury Day, the god of astrology and the lord of Wednesdays.
All hail thrice great Hermes.
So we're looking at week 3, and after all the drama and intensity of last week, we can breathe. So just take a moment to breathe in, breathe out, and just let your shoulders go. It feels like, because this week we have a beautiful benefic enclosure of the moon, and that is all that's happening. It's like just the universe is letting us breathe, relax, sending us a nice little gift, and just letting us, I don't know, just incorporate everything that's happened, reflect on what's gone on, and just get on with our lives. So we haven't got a lot of transits, we haven't got a lot of bad news to share, just that good news. So what we're going to do is dive into this beautiful cycle of Venus and Jupiter and just share a little bit more about how that works, just to share our wisdom with you and share a little bit more that you may not have thought about and show some light on it. What do you think, Christa?
I mean, I'm looking forward to it just because there's going to be so much to maybe recover from last week that, the benefic enclosure of the moon is going to happen very quickly because the moon travels just so fast. But because there's this enclosure, it means that we're also still experiencing the closeness between Venus and Jupiter, Venus in Cancer, Jupiter exalted in Cancer. And just enjoying the moon at home, and then looking at just this conjunction of Venus and Jupiter, and then how that conjunction will unfurl like a lotus blossom and then close back up and go underwater when it gets reborn next year on June 9th. So we're going to look at the cycle of Venus and Jupiter, their conjunction, their sextiles, their squares, their trines, their oppositions, and just look at it kind of like a lunar phase. We are in the moon's temple of Cancer, so we can kind of use the lunar phases as a way to describe how these two planets, when they get together and seed this moment, how they're going to grow something good. Cancer is nourishing, healing. It's the moon's temple. Venus and Jupiter are the two benefics in astrology. So ideally, something good is being planted here underground. And as it grows and as it has challenges and overcomes them and then grows even more, maybe we can see something really beautiful grow in the Cancer house of our charts. So yeah, let's look into it. This is the chart of the benefic enclosure. Okay.
Yeah. So this starts on the 19th of August, and I've got it at 23:57 British Standard Time, which is 22:57, so about PM Universal Time. It lasts for 12 hours, so it goes into the morning of the 20th, which is nice if you're looking for, again, we talked about electional astrology with the conjunction of Venus and Jupiter. But this is what we mean by a benefic enclosure, where the moon is between Jupiter and Venus and connecting them. Very much in Hori astrology, we look at the moon as a translator of light, as the moon moves faster than any of the other planets. So here the moon is literally taking the light from Jupiter and translating it to Venus almost.
Yeah.
But you've also got a stellium as the three are together. So their significations are all blended in. So you've got the ruler of Cancer, the exalted ruler of Cancer, and Venus, the ruler of Taurus and Libra. And they're all together, bringing all of that loveliness. They rule all of the good things in our lives, the things that we enjoy, the nurturing we receive from our mothers, remembrance, memory, and Jupiter bringing that expansion and good luck, and the order and things that he will look after us. I mean, literally, when you think about the planet Jupiter, as I understand it, he orders that Kuiper belt of the asteroids. He literally protects the Earth from these asteroids that could be hitting us, and he deflects them all and protects us. So in that way, even as a planet, even without the significations that he gets, he is protective, and he does bring order in that sense. And then Venus being that law of attraction, attracting things to us, and Jupiter also bringing things together. They both bring things together, but in different kind of ways.
Yeah.
So it is that bringing together. And so does the moon. The moon travels around the zodiac in a month, visiting all of the planets, collecting, almost like collecting all the tea, getting the gossip. What do you say? What does she say? What does he say? Collecting it all up and translating it back to us on Earth through the new moons and the full moons. And at other times when it connects with planets in our chart, which it will do every single month, is times it is bringing all that information down to us on Earth. So yeah, I just feel like it's really nice. And in that Cancer area of your chart, so if you know what house that rules, that helps you bring those significations that it's bringing in for us. And I've got that it's sextile as well. Venus is applying to Chiron in Aries with a trine there. So that is bringing in some healing from that Aries part of our
It would be a square
also.
between Cancer and Aries. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what that picture was supposed to look like. So Chiron, it has been in Aries for a while, and the sigil looks like a key, and so kind of unlocking some sort of necessary healing to overcome it. The square is the aspect that's related to Mars, and the job of Mars is to overcome. And I like the enclosure of the moon at home there by the Benefics, also kind of bringing in that healing journey that Venus and Chiron are going to make. Just before this happens, Mercury will have sextiled Mars, and this is the first aspect that Mercury makes after going direct. So again, it's like bringing in some sort of key, and Libra is the temple of Venus, so bringing all that in. It's really focused on that benefic enclosure. The fact that it happens a week after the Venus-Jupiter conjunction, I just feel like it's a continuation of that story, and the moon really coming in and making it maybe more realized. The moon will be new, probably like a week later, less than a week later, and so it's a waning moon. And often when the moon is waning, we feel in our bodies of wanting to rest and wanting to nurture and wanting to take really good long, healing baths and drink plenty of fluid and kind of be a little bit more, just hang out at home. Home is a common association with Cancer, and finding the comforts of what does home mean to you, and just enjoying the week between August 12th and August 19th with that benefic and lunar sort of lesson. And what day of the week is this? Is it also a Tuesday? Did we already say that? I think it is. Yeah, it's a Tuesday. That's Mars's day. You might be feeling it as soon as the moon enters into Cancer, though. And you said it's going to last for about 12 hours. So yeah, it's a brief transit, but a really, really glorious one, and one that we don't get that often. So
just really nice. And again, it's the cardinal risings will get that intensity in the loud parts of the charts, the first, 10th, 7th, and 4th houses, the self, your public image and career, your partnerships, your close partnerships and relationships, and your houses of home. So Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, and Aries, if that's your rising sign. But yeah, it's if any of these signs are your Lord of the Year or your chart ruler or your solar return ruler as well, it's quite a few people I think are likely to benefit from those 2 weeks with the conjunction and then this benefic enclosure following the week after. So yeah, it's definitely worth making some nice plans around these days.
So let's look at the next chart, because that refers back to the Venus-Jupiter conjunction. It's on August 12th of 2025, and that's the conjunction here. And then we're going to go through the aspect that the planets make. As Venus travels past Jupiter and into new signs, the first aspect that she makes is on October 9th. That's the sextile, which is the nature of Venus. The sextile is kind of like that first sight that you have with someone else of like, maybe we could work together. What does that actually look like? So on October 9th is that first aspect that they make after being conjoined. And sextiles are notoriously subtle. They're hard to catch in the moment. But if you're given an opportunity around that date that relates back to what happens on August 12th or the intentions that you set on August 12th, you can kind of think of the August 12th as that new moon, that dark moon, that seeding moment between the two. And then that crescent moon shape of energy is kind of what that October 8th reveals between the planets of Jupiter and Venus. So we're not necessarily talking about the moon's phase during these days, but just using the lunation phases as an example to visualize what these planets are going to be doing throughout the next 10 months. What are your thoughts on just Venus Jupiter sextile in general?
When you think about that crescent phase, it's like the first visibility, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
When we can first see the moon, when it's been dark around the conjunction phase. So this is like the first time when you can kind of see something growing from it. So yeah, and like you say, it's like an opportunity that you might not realize is an opportunity. So that's where it's good to have the heads up that this is a time to look for it and recognize it as an opportunity. Mm-hmm. Because of that subtlety. So again, knowing the dates, knowing that that's the aspect, particularly if it impacts on your chart, to be aware, or if the 12th of August impacted on your chart, because that's where that was, then this whole cycle is likely to affect you, that what you planted then will grow in this cycle. So those subtle opportunities will be there. And sometimes we've got to look for them. We've got to,
they're easy to miss. Sextiles are, there's missed opportunities all the time. One piece of advice is, if you use a digital calendar like Google Calendar or whatever, you can, August 12th, if you pay attention to astrology, you're probably aware of that date. But the rest of the dates, go ahead and put in your calendar, just for the whole day on October 8th, Venus sextile Jupiter. And then for the next ones, that they square and then they trine, they oppose, go ahead and put it in there. And if you have your intention that you are thinking about, or if you just, or what, after the day has passed, you're like, that was when this began. And so you can kind of then go edit that calendar date of October 8th. Like think back on like what opportunity is showing up around today or the day before, the day after, it can be, doesn't have to necessarily be exactly on the date. A lot of times we feel it as it leads up to it, like the day before. So you can kind of catch it and maybe track it that way. The moon that day is going to be in Taurus, where the moon is exalted. So that moon, that lunar host, is also providing some good opportunity, kind of bringing in the opportunity through the Taurus house. But go ahead and put these dates in your calendar. You can see them on the screen. It's August 12th, October 8th, November 2nd, November 26th, January 9th, February 22nd, March 18th, April 13th. And then they can join again in Cancer on June 9th. That'll be like both the closing of the cycle and the beginning of a new one. We're just going to go through this for the year. But I just wanted to say that go ahead and mark it down so that you can kind of catch these as they happen, because it's very quick. Being able to take advantage of this opportunity will be, I think, is just a really beautiful story, because it's both benefics involved in the moon's temple. So we got like the trifecta of joy here.
And one story that's always stuck with me, the teacher at London School of Astrology, and I can't think of his name yet, but it'll come to me. He said, these opportunities, they don't come gift wrapped. They don't come perfect. They come with a but quite often. And he's like, if you have this impacting your chart, expect to be ready at the door with your shoes and your bag and be ready to accept the but.
Yeah.
He was reading for a lady whose dream was always to work on cruise ships. And she got the offer, the perfect job, and there was a but. It wasn't the right year. And she was like, oh no, I'll wait till next year. And he was saying, but your Lord of the Year this year is Jupiter. And this is what's affecting your chart. This is your time. And she was like, no, it isn't my time because of X, Y, Z. And he was like, there's always going to be an X, Y, Z. That's your but. The divine timing is now. This is the perfect offer for you. This is your dream job. You're meant to go. So don't let the buts overrule the opportunity. If you have a dream and that dream is there at your front door with the offer, walk through that door.
Yeah.
I can't say it strong enough. Because we all have buts and we all have XYZs of responsibilities and duties to others. But your first responsibility and duty is to yourself and to your dreams. And that's what Venus and Jupiter represent.
I'm laughing because I'm remembering the Pee Wee Herman movie when he's talking to Simone. She wants to do something, but she has butt. And he's like, everybody has a big butt, Simone.
We've all got a big butt. So when you hear yourself saying, oh, about that, and you realize those are your duties and responsibilities, and this is your dream.
Yeah.
So are you ready to go through that door and realize that door might not open for you again? Your time is now.
I wanted to call out this image of the three hairs circling around. This image is found in a lot of places in the world over like holy sites, and they don't exactly know what it means, but it felt appropriate for Venus and Jupiter in the moon's temple of just the movement of the wheel. The wheel of fortune in tarot is Jupiter. And the fact that the conjunction is happening in that middle decan of Cancer, which is the Three of Cups card. I don't know, just something about kind of like triple luck with this, like three lucky rabbits, kind of turning the wheel of good fortune. As long as you can participate, it's not just like sitting around waiting for the perfect cruise ship opportunity to get you at the exact right time. In a negotiation or relationship, you have to be willing to sacrifice some things to get that greater thing. And so take advantage of it. Be risky, be bold, be adventurous so that you at some point want to go back and sit on your own couch because it's an adventure, but you're still making that effort to make some change, some good change. Cancer is a cardinal sign. It is a part of that edge on the wheel that really does turn the light. It's not one that's lazy. Cancer gets this idea of like wanting to be away and home and slow, but Cancer is cardinal water. It is a change making water. And I just feel like we're given this opportunity. We're going to all have our big butts to not do things, but your butt should be, but I'm going to do it anyway. Maybe that's what everyone's big butt should be.
Yeah. Have your list of butts, and at the top, but I'm doing it. This is my dream.
Yeah.
And let that come first, because leaving comfort zones is hard, but we're going to do it.
But we're going to do it. So when they square, this is like the first hard aspect that they make. It's going to be November 2nd. The moon's going to be in Aries. So it's going to be squaring that original conjunction. Venus will be at home at 25 degrees Libra. Jupiter will be at 25 degrees Cancer. Jupiter is going to be going retrograde pretty soon, a couple of days after this first square. So I'm imagining this first square, this first difficult moment, challenging Jupiter, even though Jupiter is going to be in a superior position, of challenging Jupiter enough to then retrograde back and then maybe reflect back on what that first intention on August 12th was. But it's going to be something that is to be overcome. It's like, okay, this was my intention. This was the opportunity that came all along in October. But now I'm really coming up against this first difficulty. This is that first quarter moon phase of this cycle. So what do you think about this moment?
Yeah, it might be a chance to sort out some of those butts. It's like they say, it's like a call to action. There's something that needs adjusting. It doesn't mean that the dream isn't happening. You're still on course, but you start seeing what some of the things you need to change are.
Yeah.
And those become apparent, and it's just time to adjust it. In the moon cycle, we often use the analogy of a plant growing, and sometimes you start seeing how the plants are growing, or what plants from seeds haven't grown, and maybe you need to thin them out. Maybe they need staking, maybe they need feeding. It's just that some action needs to be taken, and that starts to become visible, or something needs to shift and change slightly. Sometimes in cardinal signs, something's initiated, but it doesn't end up as the original exactly, and it shifts and changes into something slightly different because you're reviewing and reflecting and adjusting as you go. And especially with Jupiter retrograde, that's bringing in that opportunity to like, okay, reflect on what exactly you need to change here. And with Venus in a different sign, that's your opportunity.
Yeah. When you were speaking about just the plant analogy, I was thinking of like when you have a baby and you put them they're in like a bassinet at first, but then they keep growing. If you feed them, they keep growing, and then you have to move them into a bigger bed. And that's kind of the image that came to me, is giving it a bigger container, even if it's like growing out of the original idea, letting that original idea continue to turn and shift and change. But sometimes it's just bigger than maybe you thought it was going to be. Jupiter inflates, the moon inflates, so giving it more space, and maybe it's outgrowing the original idea on that November 2nd date, with the moon and Aries kind of opposing it. The moon is opposite by whole sign, not quite directly opposing Venus or not quite directly squaring Jupiter at this moment, but will the next day. So by default, it's pretty much in opposition to it. So a good challenge, I see this as like a good problem to have. If you stick with this idea of what you planted on August 12th, this is the first problem to have, but you get to have that problem because you started the idea to begin with. And then from there, just 2 weeks later, the day before Thanksgiving in the US, we're going to have the first trine. So Venus will be at 24 degrees Scorpio, where it's not at home, and it will be trining 24 degrees retrograde Jupiter. So Venus in Scorpio is, it's at home in the opposing sign of Taurus, so it's not at home in Scorpio. Venus in Scorpio just loves very deeply and almost obsessively to a fault, almost like wanting to have no one else. It's kind of like the Smeagol from Lord of the Rings, like having my precious and not wanting anyone else to touch it, holding it very, very tightly. But trining that retrograde Cancer, to me, this is like really doubling down on the commitment you made in August 12th of like, I really care about this. And so learning how to not hold too tightly, but love lightly, this idea that you began, and letting it flow. Venus and Jupiter in a water sign. The trine aspect is the nature of Jupiter, really helping that love flow through it. So the moon is going to be in Aquarius. It's going to be at 15 degrees Aquarius. So a little further away, kind of where the full moon is going to be last week. But again, hosting that trine between Jupiter and Venus. And the moon will be able to see Venus, but won't be able to see Jupiter. But this is the first retrograde stage of Jupiter in Cancer for the year. So maybe going back and doing a little reflection on what's going to help it flow better, looking back at what has worked, what hasn't worked. And if this is a specific project, like a tangible project, even if this is just a lifestyle change or, reconstruction of the area of life for Cancer for you, I find that this one hopefully will flow a little bit better, even if it's flowing to return back to something that maybe you tried once and it didn't work, but going back to it to see if it works this time.
For sure. I mean, they're known for bringing ease, these trines. So it's very easy to just sit back and go with that flow. But certainly if you're working with the cycle to deliberately manifest something, especially with the Jupiter retrograde, it's really good to use that ease to lean into what the retrograde is showing you and just use the ease to make those adjustments again, because you have ease to do whatever the retrograde is showing you. It's like, again, you can make those adjustments with ease. So the actions that you take will flow easily. So again, the adjustments that you were asked to take at the square, you can see them working with ease, and you can still look at those reflections that you're being shown, and those will come easily to you as well. You can consciously bring them in rather than just sitting back and letting them flow over you.
Yeah. And if you look at the time difference too, between August 12th and October 8th, that's almost 2 months, of this dark time. And then October 8th to November 2nd, it's basically a month. But then from the square, from that first difficulty to the trine, the flow, it's only 2 weeks, So to me, that says like, it will be difficult, but if you stay diligent to work through it, then you'll have ease a lot quicker. We do have a little bit more distance from that ease than to that opposition or that full moon moment of it. But this transition between the square and the trine, I feel like will be, again, if you commit to it and you really double down and see why you care deeply about this original idea, that the flow will last a lot longer as it flows into something to show for it, having that full illumination of the project or the idea or the change that you're instigating when we have that opposition with Venus and Capricorn. And let me just pull that chart up so I can look at it here. It's going to be January 9th at 1, 2, 3, 4 p.m. my time. So right around noon, Venus will be at 20 degrees Capricorn. Jupiter is at 20 degrees retrograde Cancer, and the moon is in Libra. So we have that full moon illumination of working through that issue on November 2nd, allowing that flow and really riding that flow for a good long while from November 22nd into that full moon phase of this synodic cycle between the two benefics on January 9th.
Yeah, that's nice. And again, you get that clarity, don't you? There's the opposition, which can be tense. That's the nature of Saturn. But as we said earlier on this week, Saturn helps you build something lasting, solid foundations, solid boundaries. It isn't always pleasant when you're doing it. You might not necessarily enjoy the process, but quite often the results of what you produce are something you can be proud of. So the opposition isn't always comfortable. But when you get there and you're getting this clarity and this illumination of Jupiter showing you, and again, because Jupiter's retrograde, Jupiter, that reflective process that you're doing with Jupiter in Cancer, going back over the degrees that it's traveled through in Cancer, showing you what's going on for this cycle and maybe what needs to change and what's working for you and maybe what isn't working, and exactly how it's growing and what it's growing into, what's possible and what isn't possible. It's like these difficulties, but that gives you a chance to build something that's really going to work for you, work really well for you.
Yeah.
And that's like the Saturnian nature, isn't it? When we think of that mountain goat that will overcome any obstacle, any sort of boulder in its way, it's going to get up that mountain regardless. When you think of that mountain goat, it really doesn't let anything get in its way and stop it getting to its goal. And this is the moment where you are going to get to that goal.
Another thing about that day, though, too, is that we have the sun at 19 degrees, very close to that Venus. And also we have Mars at 19 degrees. Within 3 minutes of the sun, Mars is exalted in Capricorn. And so having Venus, the sun, and Mars all there together in Capricorn, yes, like oppositional and defiant, but that exalted Mars with the sun in Saturn simple and then Venus there, really like holding, maybe having that difficult, but a very empowering meeting with the sun and Mars to argue the case for why it should continue. And like, look at all the work that I've done up to this point and being truly empowered by it. You know, we'll have Saturn and Neptune back in Pisces at that point. So they're not getting the square from Saturn and Neptune in Aries. And the moon in Libra there at 9 degrees. So it's away from a direct square. So we're not looking at a T-square situation here. It really is like a being able to argue your case of what work you have to show for it on January 9th. And to me, it's like a reason to celebrate. If you've stuck with this project for these, you should have a lot to show for it, even if it's just you being diligent about tracking your own transits, you know, like seeing how this plays out in your life, you know, looking at the charts for all of these days and seeing where it might hit you in your own nativity, but particularly in the Cancer house, and see what you're building and feel like you will have something to reflect on. If we think of it as that full moon, the moon reflecting the sun's light, if the light of this project is being shown on this opposition day, look and see all of the work that you've done. And even maybe on August 12th, write a letter to your future self on January 9th and say, by January 9th, this is what I would like to see. And then read back that letter on January 9th and see what your hopes and intentions were back in August and see what you've already accomplished at that point. Write a letter and seal it and say, don't open until January 9th because you'll forget what you wrote by that time. So then from that, we're going to have a little over a month before it trines. This one I like a lot. So we're going to have Venus at 15 degrees Pisces. Venus exalts in Pisces. Jupiter is still retrograde. It's at 15 degrees Cancer. 15 degrees is the exaltation degree for Jupiter, which I think is great. The moon is at 12 degrees Taurus. And again, having that exalted moon, exalted Jupiter, exalted Venus in this trine, like talk about flowing. I think that after the opposition on January 9th, that flow of 222 of February 22nd, having that beautiful, beautiful, beautiful flow, this might be more, you might be feeling more celebratory of what the work you've done between January 9th and February 22nd, really reflecting fundamentally what you wanted to create on August 12th. Like at this point, I'm getting excited for everybody that participates in this because I feel like if you've stuck with it this whole time, that's the thing, like Cardinal can start things, but sticking to it is a different story. If you want to see something done, you have to do the work yourself a lot of times. Like this is a chance, an opportunity, a thrice great opportunity to really get this done. And I feel like we might see more of our efforts in a positive, beneficial way on February 22nd. So what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, and I totally agree. It just feels that bit easier. Again, when you think of the moon, it's like it's a slight waning, isn't it? The light begins to diminish a little bit. So there's a little bit of letting go of something. But again, you've seen what isn't working for you. So you've let that go. So it's like you're just feeling that little bit lighter. It's like you've maybe let go of those things that you were struggling with, that boulder that you were trying to pass by, but you kind of gave up on it. It's like, okay, I'm really going to focus my efforts here because that wasn't working for me. So you've got really clear on what is and isn't working for you. So you're just that little bit lighter. And now you're like, yeah, I can go for this now. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the ride. That's just how it feels. And like you say, just knowing where those planets are and the exaltations of them, that's what an exalted planet is. It's like having everything good just coming to you without having to work too hard for it. It's just enjoying that. Everything that you've worked for during that difficult uphill climb. It's like, now I can see how this is working for me. I can enjoy what I've set up, and I've released those hard bits that weren't working. So now I can just see the good bits working, the bits I enjoy. I'm doing, like when you set up a project and there's the stuff that you really enjoy doing, and then there's the work that you didn't enjoy. It's like you've found an easier way to do that, or to set it up to automate or something. And it's like, I don't have to worry about that bit anymore. I hate it. It's gone. So you release that with that full moon, and now you're just, I'm doing the bit that I love.
And only that which I love. Yeah. Because then we hit the next square, that closing square. This is like last quarter phase of the lunar cycle, if we use that analogy. And at this point, Jupiter has gone direct. Jupiter's at 15, that exaltation degree in the sign. It's in the bounds and the decan of Mercury. Mercury is conjoined the North Node at this moment. Venus is at 15 degrees Aries in that square, but the moon is very close. It's within a few hours of becoming new in Pisces. So Pisces is ruled by Jupiter. There's a trine by whole sign between the Pisces and the Cancer house. We have Mars also in the mix. Mars is going to be in Pisces at 12 degrees, but I like the new moon aspect, kind of hosting that Jupiter there. It's squaring Venus. So if Venus is in Aries, Aries is ruled by Mars and the Sun. And Mars and the Sun are in Pisces, the neighboring sign. So there's not a lot of sight. There's a little bit of contra antitia between Venus and Mars here, but not quite. So if we think of Venus not really having sight of its rulers currently, so then we look at Jupiter. Jupiter can see the moon by trine. So while it is a square aspect, Jupiter is a bit empowered here, just having that supportive effort of having its domicile ruler be there in trine. And this is kind of this last push, like what else do I have to overcome to really see the flow again so that I can close up this part of the chapter. And yes, it is a square. It is something to kind of work through, and it might be somewhat difficult, but I feel like Jupiter has so much support in this from the moon that it'll be, again, a good problem to have. Like, I have made it this far. If I can just push through this, then it's just like sailing until the conjunction happens in June. What are your ideas on this last square for this cycle?
Yeah, it's kind of like when you think about the seasons, and again, when you think about the plant analogy, it's like the plant is starting to conserve energy now. It's flowered at the full moon, and now it's in that, okay, I've got to prepare for winter. So it's losing leaves. The flowers have died, but you want the plant to regenerate. So it's like, what do I need in order to regenerate? And that's what's on your mind. Am I going to sustain this project beyond this cycle? Or is this project just for this cycle? So what can you do to make it longer lasting? And that's kind of what's on your mind at this time. What do you need to release in order to make it longer lasting? Sometimes a project is just for one cycle, but sometimes are you going to make it your life's work, or are you just going to make it for a couple of years and then it changes into something else? Sometimes a cardinal sign that initiates, that's what it's going to be. It's just going to be for one cycle, or it's going to start as something, but it's going to change into something else. And those are the kind of decisions that you're being asked to make around this time, and the kind of changes that are coming in as you prepare for like that harvest wintry kind of season. If it was the wheel of the year, it's like that going within, and that harvest time. Are you prepared for that wintry time, like trees losing their leaves, and they take all the energy inwards, but that enables its survival going forward, and then it comes out anew in the spring. And so does your project. You're making those decisions. Is it surviving? Are you releasing? Are you changing it into something new? How is this going to work for you? Are you wrapping it up? You might be, in order to start something new at the next conjunction. It might be how are you wrapping it up, and how are you going to leave it? Or are you going to grow it to another level? And those are all possibilities that are coming in. And I think those are decisions that you're facing.
Just making a choice, I think, is, even if you just look at that last square, is I'm at this point and I have to choose. Like, am I going to continue this on, or am I going to use what I've learned through this, this time to reinvent that in a completely different product or project or process or creation? Am I going to use this skeleton that I've created as scaffold for something completely new? But I have to choose. Am I going to see this one through, or am I going to now take this last kind of waning phase to reinvent it and recycle it? I like the image of letting the leaves drop so that you can conserve that sugar, that energy internal, like to internalize it, to integrate it within, so that you can have more resources, even if it's the resource of experience, on the next conjunction to then reinvent it. Because on April 13th, we have this closing sextile, this opportunity, this connection of Venus and Jupiter. Venus is going to be at home at 16 degrees, 47 minutes Taurus, and Jupiter is forward at 16 degrees, 47 minutes Cancer. At the very moment that this happens, the moon is at 29 degrees, 41 minutes Aquarius. 35 minutes after the exact conjunction, it's going to move into Pisces. And I like that. I like the moon being in Pisces with Venus in Taurus and Jupiter in Cancer. So at the exact moment of the perfected sextile, the moon is in Aquarius, but very quickly, within a half hour, it moves into Pisces. The other things that are going on, Mars and Neptune are going to be conjoined in Aries. And what I've seen with when those two get together is theft, thievery. And so the only word of caution I have for this moment, just in this season in general, is be protective and careful of having these ideas or this project stolen from you, because Mars Neptune can be a little opportunistic. And so as you are kind of closing this project up, and kind of there's superstition of, when you get your hair cut, don't let the hair just be laying on the floor. You gather your hair up and throw it away yourself, or you take it with you. Just the superstition of retaining your own magic, retaining your own ideas and your own processes, having that Neptune Mars there. It can, there are other significations when those two planets get together, but at this moment, kind of seeing how close they are, it just reminds me of, don't give away things unnecessarily. Give them to people that are deserving, not to someone that just wants to steal your own magic or your own wisdom from you. But as this closing sextile, it is kind of this final crescent as it wanes to become new again. They're going to conjoin on June 9th, but on April 13th, there's still some visibility. And so this is this moment of closing this chapter, looking at what you've done since August 12th, 2025. This is now April 13th, 2026. And with a really beautiful at-home Venus and exalted Jupiter, with the moon in Aquarius Pisces, kind of hosting this final visibility before it becomes new. So it is an ending of sorts. It is a culmination or a closing up, but hopefully of something that's been a very fruitful and bountiful and life-changing year. Because, when you change something like this, especially with Jupiter exalted only once every 12 years, you get that chance. 12 years ago, I gave birth to my son. He has Jupiter and Cancer in his chart. And so the last 12 years have been a whole lifetime. And what's the next 12 years going to be? Just that chapter of being a young child and then turning 12 years old, he will be a different person the next time Jupiter comes into Cancer. And so will we all. We will all be very different people 12 years from now. So what goodness do you want to create? And this last sextile is like seeing that last visibility of this specific project. And then how are you going to close it up? How are you going to sweep up your own hair off the barbershop floor so you can kind of not just let it go to waste and be stolen from you, but then retain that and compost it into kind of a new idea that you can then plant again on June 9th. There'll be a whole different cycle that follows it. So yeah, what are your thoughts for the crescent before we close up on June 9th?
Yeah, like you say, it is that in the same way that the opposite is the first visibility, this is the last, as you say, and it is that time for like a death and a rebirth symbolically. In order to have that rebirth of the new, to bring that in, you've got to have that easing away and an ending of sorts. So whatever decisions that you made at this square, it's like you're taking action on them. It's still a sextile, so there's still opportunities. And as you've said, the astrology for all of these aspects is just like really lovely. I appreciate you talking us through the cycle like this, because just knowing how these connections are being made, it's just really interesting to hear. Actually, like that Mars-Neptune aspect as well coming up then. Like that seems significant for a death and an ending.
Yeah.
In preparation for a rebirth. But that doesn't necessarily mean that whatever you created is ending. Like you say with your son, it's not an ending, it's a change. And when we've all got to shed skins and rebirth something new in us, and that is the wheel of life.
Yeah.
We go through these cycles and we all grow and evolve. To do that, we've got to shed some aspects of our personality to bring the new in. And quite often it's a very subtle process that we're not always aware of. But with astrology, that gives us insight into how these cycles do operate. And when we see the dates and the timings, we can sometimes say, oh gosh, yes, you know, I know where I was 12 years ago and I can see that cycle coming in. And it's really one of the greatest gifts of astrology, I think, is when these dates really chime with us and we can track them and see them really playing out.
Yeah, indeed.
With the Jupiter in Cancer people, it's going to be really significant.
Well, on June 9th, 2026, they're going to meet up again at 25 degrees, 46 minutes. But then the remainder of that cycle starting then, and then this one ending at that point, will continue on because when they sextile after that, Jupiter will have moved out of Cancer into Leo. This really is kind of that final, their conjunction moment, that seeding moment will be in Cancer. Continuation of it will be Jupiter and Leo, which is also great. I mean, Jupiter and Leo is fun. It's triplicity lord of Leo. So, I mean, it's a different story, but having an exalted planet, exalted benefic and exalted greater benefic be joined with the other benefic is really kind of a special moment. And so I hope that you'll take advantage of it because, you know, in tarot, you have the ace cards. They're like the one, they're usually a hand coming out of the heavens, coming out of the clouds, just gifting you something. And that's how this feels. It's like there is a gift. And while there is plenty of other crazy astrology going on, difficulty in the world, I mean, we're aware of that. The astrology speaks to it too. There is also these really beautiful bubbles and pockets of greatness that we can engage with and activate, but we have to engage with it in order to activate it. It's not just going to befall us. And if we can take that opportunity out of the hand that's being gifted from heavens, then I think, we own it a little bit more. We own it when it's difficult. We own it when it's successful. And it teaches you how to engage with astrology and looking at it within your own chart. I would encourage you to look at all of these. What are there? 9? Yeah, 9 different, from conjunction to conjunction, there's 9 aspects. Look at the charts of every single one of these dates, put it in your calendars so that it pops up so that you can be aware and you can track it. And if there's a chart that specifically speaks to your nativity, I mean, these are going to run the gamut between, 15 to 25 roughly. And so there might be some charts that hit more specifically. And if Sonia, one of them hits one of your angles, like very directly. And so it's good to kind of look at that in your own chart to see maybe how you could expect to experience it, not just in your Cancer house, but in the other houses that Venus is going to be transiting. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be fun. I hope that if you do this, that you let us know as it's happening. I think that it might be fun to revisit this maybe in November, January, and March when we hit the squares, like revisit it and see what has been happening for us, how to continue to track it, even if you didn't start it in August, if you start it in January, to be like, okay, I'm going to look back and do retroactive planning and see kind of what's already been happening so that I can take charge of this because it's getting out of control. I just think that it's a fun collective project to do. And yeah, Sonia got this from AstroSeek, all the dates.
Yeah, so it's quite easy if you want to look back and see if the last cycle impacted your chart, if this one isn't. They met in Taurus for the conjunction in 2024, and you can see how it went from conjunction, sextile, square, trine, opposition, trine, square, sextile, to the conjunction that we're in now. So you can go back and it's really easy then. They've got a little button to pull up the chart for each. So this is in Astro Tools, and you can just enter in planet Venus, planet Jupiter, and the dates that you want to look at. So I just entered in from May 2024 to look at 2026 to take us up to the June conjunction. And then I see that because of the retrograde, we've got Venus in Libra, but she'll retrograde there, and Jupiter in Leo. And we'll get 3 of those sextiles. So that opportunity phase,
Wow, yeah.
opportunity will come 3 times in 2026. So it's a good way to track, to go back if you think that there's a cycle that did hit your chart and you want to look backwards, or if you want to look forwards, you can get any sort of date range thanks to the lovely Peter from AstroSeek, who is Venus in Cancer twin of Christa. So it's great that he offers us these tools that just a couple of clicks and you've got all of this like really wonderful information just at your fingertips, and one more click and you've got the chart. So it's very easy, makes it very easy to track it, very easy to see all these Jupiter in Cancer and where Venus will be exactly through. And then you've got all the dates as well, so you can add them to your diary. But do take a screenshot of this beautiful slide here with the dates, and she'll tell you what type of aspect we're looking at as well. But good luck. Let us know how you do and what you find as well. If you're looking backwards or you're looking forwards, do let us know.
Yeah.
Because it's great work. And this is like one of the beauties of astrology is that it brings us this tool that helps us bring insight and clarity to our lives and helps us to co-create with the universe. You know, it's like this is what it's offering us, and are we going to run with it and ease ourselves into the flow of it, but also work with it as well. So thank you so much, Christa, for suggesting looking at that. It's
Sure.
really good. And hopefully next week, unfortunately, Mandy couldn't be with us for the last 2 weeks, but we'll be back next week looking at the 20th of August to the 27th of August. So we'll see you then, hopefully. If you've enjoyed this, please do remember to like, subscribe, comment, let us know how the Jupiter-Venus cycle has been going for you, and enjoy that Benefic conjunction as well.
Yes.
Enclosure. Thank you, Christa. Bye.
Thanks, Sonia. Bye.